I'd like to call the October 18th, 2022 Board of Commissioners Business Meeting to order. As always, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening, one of our residents, Tom Borneman, will lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Deanna, will you do the roll call, please?
Denise Hall, President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner. Liz McNaney, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Dansker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
Van Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
And it is noted Catherine Carter, Commissioner, and Nathan Crittenden, Finance Director, are absent.
Thank you, Deanna. I'm going to turn it over to our Park and Rec Liaison, Liz McNaney.
Thank you. Sadly, I'd like to read the following about a volunteer we've had in our community. Rob Nagel, who lived in Upper Gwynedd Township for 58 years. He worked at Merck, and he donated hundreds of hours to the Boy Scouts and was one of our Upper Gwynedd Parks and Rec board, on our board for over a decade. He passed away on September 30th at the age of 75. Rob was an essential asset to every Parks and Recreation event we have had over the past 11 years while serving on the board. He will be sorely missed. And with that, I'd like to take a moment of silence.
Thank you, Liz. Lauren, were there any executive sessions?
The board did meet in executive session earlier this evening to discuss matters of personnel and potential litigation.
Thank you, Lauren. Next, we have the public comments. Thank you for respecting the 5-minute rule and practicing decorum. Our goal is always to give you the most complete and correct answers to your questions from our staff who are experts in these areas. For that reason, we have included a space for your name and email address in the registry if we need to reach out to you during the week with the full answer to your questions. We had some residents who were concerned that if we answered any question offline, so to speak, then the residents who wanted to hear the answer publicly would be left out. So we will continue to share any answers to questions that were posed publicly but were answered privately at the following public meeting, which we did not have any from the last. This evening, first up for public comments is Kyle Goldbacher of 600 Brookwood Lane.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Goldbacher, 600 Brookwood Lane. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Seated behind me are my mother and father, Diane and Harry. My parents' house at 600 Brookwood Lane was built and purchased in 1979. They've lived there for over 43 years. They've seen neighbors come and go and shared much goodwill and generosity. We've chosen to present ourselves here today for two reasons. Firstly, we'd like to respond directly to disparaging comments made by one of our neighbors right here on September 20th. Secondly, and more importantly, we'd like to publicly express our concern for the immediate environmental impact of the increasing volume and rate of rainwater runoff flowing into the Haynes-Didinger Creek and its adjacent properties. Over the course of 43 years, the creek has flooded our home 4 times. The first time was in 2004, shortly after the construction of a small development located above our neighborhood off Sweetsford Road. The most severe event took place in August of 2011 during Hurricane Irene, at which time the water level rose 20 feet above the creek bed. We were also significantly impacted during Hurricanes Isaias and Ida in 2020 and 2021. Clearly, these 100-year flood events have become alarmingly commonplace, and so we've made every effort to share our personal experience in various perspectives with community leaders and elected representatives. Through the years, my mother and father have written to or spoken with Len Perrone, Kate Harper, and Mrs. Zadell. After Hurricane Isaias, my brother and I both had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Kessler. Truth be told, my family has learned to adjust a bit, just as we've become increasingly diligent in tending to the health and security of our little stretch of the watershed, which includes the waterway extending beneath the SEPTA R5 overpass. Within the scope of our abilities, we have approximated certain thresholds in the rates of precipitation, upon which we've learned to take immediate action. We've removed debris from in and around the creek, and we've even planted more absorptive plants and trees. Unfortunately, it's quite apparent that the roots of the problem run much deeper than debris removal and gardening techniques. A more systemic approach is clearly needed to effect comprehensive change, and so we are both aware and appreciative of the resources thus far invested by the township in addressing this matter. I'm sure there are many neighbors and local citizens that are willing to assist in the study and advocacy of flood prevention. But in returning to my first point, there are effective ways of expressing one's concern and less effective ways, none of which should include false accusations and blatant disrespect. As I mentioned before, one of our neighbors, Mr. George Cressman, stood here on September 20th and said, quote, "I've had to have discussions with some of my neighbors who are very smart, educated, but not that wise, because they're like, wow, it's just open space. Why can't I go and dump all my yard waste over there? I'm like, because it's wrong." You know, I kind of chuckled, and I won't mention the name, but the one neighbor who lives right next to the creek, because they were doing it, and then the creek flooded because things got blocked up underneath the railroad underpass, and their house got flooded. I'm like, well, it's hard for me to feel sorry for you when you helped contribute to that situation. My one neighbor asked me, because of the house that got flooded, what do you think can be done? I said, well, the best solution and the cheapest is to have the township come in, buy their property, and you know, because I said the cost to come in and dig out the creek is probably millions. Honestly, my family is not interested in Mr. Cressman's compassion. If he were anything like our other neighbors, he would have offered us a hand in our time of need, rather than asking to pick through our dumpster. However, the claim that we dumped debris into the creek, helped contribute to the situation, or are in any way personally responsible for the damage done to our home by hurricane-force flooding is categorically false and quite frankly slanderous. Furthermore, we find it outrageous and in truth dishonorable for our neighbor, a self-elected block captain, to disseminate unsolicited solutions among township commissioners and neighborhood residents that refer to our family needing to be bought out or forcibly removed from our home. This proposition was a shock for my family to hear discussed so casually in a public forum. This is our family home, and the aggressive action being advocated by Mr. Cressman betrays all signs of cooperation. We kindly ask him to cease and desist. On behalf of my mother and father, I'd like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Both your time and attention are greatly appreciated. My family will remain both vigilant and hopeful. Vigilant by tending to the health of the watershed to the best of our abilities, and hopeful that our community can work together to safeguard the many homes and families affected by the rising tides of suburban development and climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Next up, we have Tom Borneman of 722 Green Street.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the Sandra, can't remember her last name.
Adele?
Sarah, I'm sorry, Sarah
I'd love to
Previs.
take credit, Tom, but I think you mean Sarah.
Yeah, I did. I meant Sarah. Sarah for her cooperation and help on Saturday at the Fall Fest. We had a really good time there, and she was very helpful, and I just wanted to thank her.
Thank you, Tom.
Tom, I'll pass that on to her.
Next up, we have, speak of the devil, Sandra Zadell, our township manager, with the township manager report.
Oh, there's no more public comment? I was just shocked. I was like,
Oh, no, that was it. I'm sorry.
okay, all right, great. My township manager report, I have some visual aids that Megan will pull up for me.
Sorry,
So-
Sandra.
That's okay. I was diligently taking notes. So I had the pleasure this week of attending a meeting with some local legislators and Wissahickon Trails. This is a project that I don't think that we talk about enough in Upper Gwynedd. So regionally, we are widely regarded as having perhaps the most innovative and amazing comprehensive stream bank restoration project in our region. I've had managers from other towns come to visit it. There was an assistant manager for another town there, legislators from all over the district. We've won 3 awards for this project with Wissahickon Trails and our project partners, Merck, not PennDOT, Pico, and several funding sources from the state and Fish and Wildlife and other groups. So I just wanted to talk about these pictures that you see here and the amazing changes that have happened in the Wissahickon watershed due to this shining example of public-private partnership. So the first picture that you see up in the top left is the before picture before any work was done. And just so everyone knows where I'm talking about, if you walked out to the end of the park and made a right, went down the trail past the pool parking lot and keep walking, there's a bridge, and you can see this area perfectly from the bridge. So where Megan's pointer is the before picture. This is the stream bank. From this picture, you can't see the steep erosion that was happening on the edges of the stream bank, but that is not the best for our watersheds, for flood control, and for environmental wildlife. So Wissahickon Trails led the project. We worked together with all the partners that I spoke of, and then during construction, this is what it looked like, the other 2 pictures here, which, you know, things always look worse before they get better. And it's amazing how, I don't know exactly how many 1,000 pounds of sediment were taken out of the creek bed, but there were thousands and thousands of pounds of sediment taken out of the creek bed. So that the end result would be the bottom right picture. This was immediately after construction, and it shows that now the water has a wider path. It's not steep erosion. There's a lot of plantings and things that were put in to prevent erosion. And Megan, can you show the now pictures? So on this trip, look at this change. Like I had to talk about it tonight because it was just beautiful. And literally while we were sitting there looking at it with all the legislators of Wissahickon Trails, a beautiful blue heron flew and landed, which I thought was hilarious. And then a red-tailed hawk flew over. I was like, look, it's a perfect example. The wildlife's thriving now. But you can see that the plantings have now become established. You no longer see the dirt that you see on the left top, but the bottom right and the top right are the pictures now. So I just implore everyone to go check it out. We've won 3 awards, as I mentioned, including the Governor's Award for Excellence, an award from the Water Resources Network, and Montgomery County Planning Commission on this project, and we hope to do even more. So I just thought it was a good time to highlight this. It's beautiful out there right now with the leaves changing, and it's just a really cool project that I don't think that we brag enough about this project because it really is significant and has a significant impact on the downstream users of the creek. Are there any questions? Kyle, I'm glad that you guys made your comment, which sort of goes along with these stream bank restoration projects. We have a lot of them planned in the township, and the township is currently working on the design for the Haynes Run. We're planning a large stream bank restoration there as well. So, that's all I have.
Sandra,
Thanks.
wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Next up, we have our Planning and Zoning Officer, Ivan Rieker, with his report.
Good evening, everyone. Couple new, couple old projects. So first on the report is no change to 1500 Pembroke Parkway. As you've heard now the last couple of meetings, it's on hold at the request of the applicant. Not withdrawn, but on hold. Next is the report on the zoning hearing board activities of last month. 2215 Moyer Boulevard, that's the use variance for the 10 units, 5 duplex buildings along Moyer Boulevard that was approved, subject to extensive testimony and exhibits. So the next step would be the applicant, after an appeal period, would file land development plans, and perhaps they'll reach the commissioners. They'll go to the planning commissions, county and local first, and then perhaps to you in 5 or 6 months. The questions on that one? Okay. 1610 Clearview Road, dimensional variance approved without comment and testimony by the board. The next two are new. 593 DeKalb Pike, that's the Wawa. This is, actually, it's not new, but it was continued from last month at the request of the applicant to October 25th, which is next Tuesday. And this is for 3 or 4 additional EV or chargers for EV electrical vehicles to be added to the Wawa site at Welsh Road and 202.
Van, they're not, over here. They're not just for Teslas though, right?
Correct, so thank you. They are, Arthur, they are, as I mentioned last time, the first group of 8 chargers were for Tesla only. So they were single-purpose vehicle chargers. They required a different path, including a conditional use by the board. Now, these 3 or 4, and it's a matter of electrical functions, whether they can make it work, 3 for sure, maybe 4, are universal ports. So they're there to service all non-Tesla EV vehicles. So they'll be in the same area, if those of you that know that, Wawa. And that'll be subject to the testimony that we hear. So the variance is required because it's an accessory use and it's in front of the building. So in Upper Gwynedd, as in most communities, accessory structures or uses are not permitted in the front yard. And these necessarily need to be because of their locational value, I guess, to the applicant. So that's the issue that will be heard next Tuesday, 593 DeKalb Pike, Wawa. Any questions on that one? Thank you, Martha, for bringing that up. 1912 Sterling is a front yard corner property. Typically, this is sort of routine. 2 front yards make it perhaps more difficult for some additions to occur in a residential community. This is a request for a 1-story addition in the front yard, which is a corner property, 1912 Sterling Drive. That will also be heard next Tuesday. And then finally, this is new. I suspect it'll be around for the next 6 or 10 months. A sketch plan has been submitted by the property owners of the Wawa property, which we know as Sumney Forge, which is the Valley Forge and Sumney Town Pike property. The proposal would be, it's currently as a sketch plan. The next step would be that you'll see it again, we'll see it again as a application to the zoning hearing board. And then ultimately, you'll see it perhaps in another 8 or 10 months or more as a land development. So their proposal is to demolish the existing small shopping center that's there. It's been, I guess, for about 40, 45 years. And to rebuild the property and replace it with a single Wawa food market having gas. That's a proposal. The pathway for that in Upper Gwynedd is to obtain or to secure approval from the zoning hearing board first for the sale of gas. That's been the pathway in the past for all gasoline service stations in the township, and that's the pathway we believe they'll have to follow as well. And when filed, you'll hear us talk about that briefly again. It'll go before the zoning hearing board to consider whether or not the sale of gas is appropriate and what conditions would be appropriate for that approval. And then ultimately, that'll evolve into a land development plan. Any questions about that one? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Van. Next up, I'm going to give the floor to our township engineer, Isaac Kessler.
Thank you. This evening, we've included our engineering report with updates to the current projects ongoing in the township. And the item we wanted to just mention for this month's meeting is just a kind of a reminder and this time of year for our fall stormwater maintenance. We've mentioned drainage a few times already tonight, but the way the system works best is when it's not clogged and obstructed and those types of things. So our Public Works Department, works diligently to clear out storm drains of leaves and things that fall this time of year. And that ensures that on the township roads, we have those things clear. And we do kind of implore the residents to do what they can as well. If you see a drain in front of your home in the street, help clear it if it looks like it's not taking water. Our field crews have taken the proactive step with the staff here to work together to map out some of the obstructions that might be in the larger waterways. And that's something that we're generating a tool that Public Works and Parks and Rec can utilize to clear out some areas that we know of back along the streams to allow that water to move through as efficiently as it can when those big storms come. So this type of year, it's always a challenge with all the things falling from the trees, but we just wanted to remind everyone to kind of chip in and work together as a team to keep those as clear as we can.
Isaac, could residents adopt their local storm drain that's near their home and brush the leaves away from it?
They
Would that be
definitely
one of those
could,
things
yeah.
you're talking about? Okay.
If, yeah.
If you could
don't-
help
don't
us,
get a
it's
sign,
very
yeah.
helpful, yes.
You don't get a sign
We don't
like
have
you do
a
the
sign
road,
program,
it
but
would
I
be
will
nice.
thank you publicly if you tell me you did it. Promise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Any questions for Isaac? Okay. Moving on, starting with our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve consent items A through J?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simulera,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We wanted to announce that we have another budget work session coming up. That is on October 24th, next week, at 1 o'clock it will begin. This year, we've devoted at least...
Commissioner Hull?
Yes.
Can I give a preview since we have so many residents?
Oh, sure.
I would just like to say that this year's budget is being proposed with no tax increase. And I don't expect that any decisions that we make in the following months, as the budget is just a rough draft right now, will create the need for a tax increase. So,
That's a super important thing to point out.
yeah.
Thank you, Sandra. Excellent. Good news. Okay, so this year, we've devoted at least 1 week to celebrate and offer extra appreciation for all our departments. We've been doing that the entire year. And Finance Appreciation Week is up next. This is actually the first time we are designating a week for them. So if you are in the vicinity of any of those members of our township staff from October 24th through the 28th, please make sure you give them a pat on the back and thank them for all they do to keep our township finances in order. Do we have a motion to approve designating October 24th through the 28th of 2022 a Finance Appreciation Week?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania provides municipalities funding annually to help cover their pension plans costs. It requires the municipalities to share the total number and earnings of full-time police officers, paid firefighters, and non-uniformed active participants of a municipal pension plan. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 27-2022 State Aid? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We continue to engage in discussions with the owner of the parcels located at Allentown Road and Broad Street, known as the Martin Tract, regarding the township's potential purchase of the property. We are in the process of having the property reappraised as part of those discussions. In the meantime, the township has the opportunity to apply for grant funding that could be used to help defray the costs of purchasing the property, the DCNR acquisition grant. The applications must be submitted by the end of October to be considered for this grant cycle. There is no cost to apply for the grants, and if the township decides not to proceed with acquiring the property, the township can withdraw its application. Budget impact: the total anticipated cost at the time for this project is $2.3 million. This is a 50% grant match, so our total application is for $1.15 million. If we receive the grant funding and move forward with the project, the remaining funds would come from township reserves, a portion from developer contributions for recreation space, and the remainder from our general fund reserves. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 29-2022, authorizing application to DCNR for the Martin Track acquisition costs and approval of Sandra Zadell as the grant signatory?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Please come to the mic and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Glenn Hatfield, 1468 Kathy's Lane. The Martin Track's something I've been following a little bit, and I saw it on the agenda. First thing I'd like to say is I am not against that project in any way, shape, or form. If it's open space or a recreational space, whatever it is fine. But I am concerned about several things. One, the initial approach you guys took with the eminent domain. I don't like that approach. I think it's also a little bit of a dangerous approach, which I'll get to in a second. Second, the potential large amount of taxpayer money that potentially could be used to purchase, develop, and maintain the park. And it sounds like you're getting some grants for that, so that's wonderful. But when you try to use eminent domain for the park, there could be protracted legal action, and that really could adversely affect the taxpayers of Upper Gwynedd, cost them a lot of money. Things that could be, especially with the legal expenses, could be spent on better projects, more productive things. And what really brought that up and really hit me was I just saw an article in the Patch, you guys are probably aware of it, where Montgomery Township just got hit pretty hard with a lawsuit. It's been going on for about 10 years. The long and the short of that situation was they attempted to purchase some land for a park, so not a school or a hospital or something like that, but a good cause, certainly. They offered them $1 million. The people thought it was worth $2.6 million. The judgment just recently, which was just recently rendered, was for $5.58 million to the family. But in addition, the township's going to have to pay interest, of course, and legal fees to that family. Again, the point isn't that you shouldn't go forward with the park or the open space or whatever it is, but it really is a very aggressive action. Eminent domain can go cut both ways, obviously. And I think the better way to do it is if you really like that project, give us a plan, have a plan for it, present it to the residents, and then bargain with the current owner in good faith and come up with something that works for everybody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Damsker, you have nothing tonight. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to say that I thought that we were fortunate we had beautiful weather for the Fall Fest. And it was really a delight to see lots of young parents with little babies pushing carriages and everybody seemed to be having such a wonderful time. And I'm just very pleased to be able to provide that kind of event for the community at no cost. And also, as Sandra mentioned or Denise mentioned, that there will be no tax increase this is the third year?
No, way more than that. I think the last tax increase was 2017.
It's
Don't
2017.
quote me. I'll talk about it in my budget presentation.
Right.
The fire
So now, like it was mentioned, that we are now looking at the budget for the upcoming year. So, but as the township manager, Sandra, said, that there will not be a tax increase. So we are trying to be very responsible and ensure that, that your dollars are being well spent for the community.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsker. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner McNaney.
Megan, could you pull up number 14? Thank you. Pull up here. I want to read through pull it up here, our thank yous for the carnival that we had back in September. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? I did thank.
Last month.
I know. I did thank all the volunteers that we had at the last meeting, but in this time I'd like to read through, so not only do they get their names up on the big screen, but I will announce all the people that helped make that carnival such a success for us this year, but it's not pulling up on my screen, so, and I can't see that. Wait, I got it. It's just acting a little slow. Here we go. I got it. Yep. Skelly's Amusements, always fun to work with. The fireworks, great, both 2 nights, international fireworks. The Clemens Food Group, Cargo Trailer Sales, Republic Services, Lehigh Valley Dairy Farms, George Allen Wastewater Management, Volunteer Medical Service Corp., West Point Deli, Rental World, Geiger Company, Rock Hill Designs, the Upper Gwynedd Fire Department and the Fire Police, the Upper Gwynedd Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, the Upper Gwynedd Parks and Recreation Public Works Department, the Upper Gwynedd Police Department, the Upper Gwynedd Board of Commissioners, the Township Administration Staff, North Penn Fire Company and Fire Police, Norgwen Baseball, Whistler's Barbecue, Boston Style Pizza, the Sausage Crew of John, Justin, Jane, Janelle, and all the other volunteers, all the ticket booth and wristband volunteers, Merck and Company, WB Homes, E. Van Rieker, Code Inspections, Environmental Engineering and Management Associates, North Penn Auto Service, Traditional Signs Company, and also a thank you to all of our bronze sponsors, and just a little asterisk there, anyone or group that we may have omitted. Please know we appreciate your help to make our carnival a success. And as you all have heard before, it was a success, except for the weather on Sunday, but still it was a great turnout. So thanks to everybody on this list, and that's a lot of people. So moving right along. Next on the agenda is item number 15. It's a motion to approve the base bid for Stonewood land shaping. And I had to check that because I thought that was a spelling error. I said landscaping, I'm like, landscaping, okay. For the Newport Basin retrofit in the amount of $120,920. We had 7 bids, and our engineering firm said that this was the lowest bid and the best one that we had. So I make a motion to approve the base bid to Stonewood land shaping.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is item number 16. It's a motion to approve the bid to Horgan Brothers for the amount of for the 2023 snow plow and equipment program in the amount of $8,750. Horgan was our only bidder. I don't recall ever needing the backup for them as long as I've
We
been.
haven't in the last few years, but I do hear from all the, I don't want to say, from all the people at the township who have years of experience with weather. They look at the Farmer's Almanac, everything else. They're all telling me it's supposed to be a bad winter. So hopefully we won't have to use it.
Well, thanks for nothing, Sandra. You just. ruined the whole
Sorry.
meeting.
One time at a public meeting, I was talking about this, and it literally started snowing as I was talking when I was the Chalfont Borough Manager, and they all blamed me forever. So don't blame me if it's bad, but it's better to be prepared that it's going to be a tough winter than to think that it's not going to be. We always budget appropriately for the moderate range of storm, and that would be best if that's what we got.
We have a lot of salt.
So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid to Horgan Brothers for the snowplow equipment program.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Next on the agenda, item number 17, which is a motion to approve the contract with Cedarbrook Country Club for the 2023 Goth outing on May 8th, 2023. See, I said that all real loud because there's not a bad word in there. So do we have a motion to approve the contract with Cedarbrook for the Goth outing?
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, number 18, a motion to approve the cost increase for the memorial benches to $1,500 per bench. They were $750, but the board, the Parks and Rec Board, looked at everything, got some input from Sarah about the program, and they all recommended that this increase would be appropriate. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the cost increase for the memorial benches.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Number 19 is a motion to approve Resolution 28, 2022, authorizing the application to the Pico Green Region Open Space Program for the Hartley Drive Meadow Conversion Project, which would impact the Skipback Creek, right,
I like to
watershed.
come up with long titles for our projects, so you guys have to say it.
For the Skipback watershed, is there any additional, I'll wait till you finish, any additional information, Sandra, that you would like to say? on that
Sorry,
one?
no, this is just an addition as part of our required MS4 work, and we're looking to capture some grant funding to help with those costs.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 28, 2022.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And lastly, motion is a motion to approve the Stormwater Best Management Practices, here we go, another long one. Motion to approve the Stormwater Best Management Practices Operations and Maintenance Agreement for 4045 West Prospect Avenue. This was reviewed by our engineer, and we would like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the Stormwater Best Management Practices.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner McNaney. Commissioner Similaro, you also have a bye this week. Do you have anything you'd like to?
I just want to do a quick PSA.
Okay.
Like to do it around this time of the year typically. For anybody here, please do not flush things down the toilet that say flushable, because typically they're not flushable. And all it does is clog up the pipes. So when you get those white things or whatever and it says flushable, they're really not. And I think last year we had the pictures of the pipes that were actually clogged with all the flushable things that people flush down the toilet. So I think I'm going to get Dan up here to put those pictures back up. They're very informative to see that. So just a little PSA from the wastewater department.
Thank you, Martha. Next up, we have our open invoices. Do we have a motion to approve the October 2022 open invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve the October 2022 paid invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Does anyone else on the board have anything else this evening?
No, because I think everybody wants to go and get for the Phillies game. I see a hat.
Go Phillies.
Thank you to all who attended this evening. Meeting adjourned.